Town Council Candidate Forum, sponsored by the Cross Timbers Gazette. I'm Dr. Buddy Bonner, and I will serve as the moderator for this evening's Candidate Forum. Cross Timbers Gazette is Denton County's largest newspaper, mailed to over 60,000 mailboxes each month, including every home and business in Flower Mound, Texas. You can stay up to date on the latest Southern Denton County news online anytime at crosstimbersgazette.com. Please follow Cross Timbers Gazette on Facebook, X, and Instagram. With the Cross Timbers Gazette, local lives here. Tonight's forum is being broadcast live on FM TV by the town of Flower Mound and can be viewed on FM TV up to election date, which is May 2nd. FM TV is available on Astound Broadband Channel 12, Time Warner Channel 16, and Frontier Channel 42. You can also watch this forum on demand at flowermound.gov and crosstimbersgazette.com. David Phillips from Scouting America Troop 99 in Lantana will be our timekeeper tonight. Up first, we will have Lewisville ISD candidates before we meet the town council candidates, and I'd like to invite the Lewisville ISD Place 5 candidates to speak for 2 minutes each. First, we'll have Dr. Stacy Barker at the lectern.
A little shorter than that. Thank you to the Cross Timbers Gazette for allowing me to come and speak to you all and giving us a few minutes at the beginning. My name is Stacy Barker. I have served as a trustee on the Lewisville ISD board for the last 3 years, and it's been my honor and privilege. My daughter is, she started out in Wellington. We're a proud Flower Mound family. She went to McCamey Middle School, and now she's a sophomore at Flower Mound High School. So I've seen firsthand the excellent education that our district delivers, both inside and outside the classroom. Speaking of outside the classroom, I've had the privilege of traveling with 5 teams to state championships, and I've hung gold on 3 of those and silver on 1. But of course, excellence doesn't just happen outside of the classroom, it happens inside the classroom. And that's something we excel at. Our graduation rate is sitting at 96.8%, and that is over 6 percentage points higher than the state. That takes dedicated staff. And I made a promise when I ran that I was going to support our staff however I could, because when you take care of staff, they take care of our kids. And I have done that. I have advocated for raises for positions that were not included in House Bill 2. I've advocated for raises when the market indicates that those raises need to go up for certain positions. And I'm still advocating for a 3% raise at the midpoint for our staff. But you cannot talk about raises unless you are fiscally responsible, and we have been as a board. I have not been afraid to make difficult decisions when it comes to right-sizing our staff and right-sizing our facilities. And because we have made those hard decisions, we turned around fiscal year 26 from an adopted $2.9 million deficit to a projected surplus of $11.3 million. That's how we can talk about raises for our staff. So a vote for me means continuing this pattern of excellence in our students, continuing advocacy for our staff so that we keep those strong teachers in the classroom, and continuing fiscal responsibility. Vote for Dr. Stacy Barker on May 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Barker. Up next, Mr. Brian Pollard.
Hello, thank you for having us tonight, Max and everybody in the Flower Mound community. I want to talk to you about time a little bit. I want to talk to you about time spent with children, time spent in the classroom, and time spent thinking about the future. I got to spend time on a football field with the drum majors of the Flower Mound and Marcus High School bands. I work with the largest nonprofit music organization in the country, Bands of America, and I got to shake their hands. They were amongst the best marching bands in the entire world. I came home that next weekend, got in the car, and spent time driving my children to a new school because the school they were at had been closed. So here's a dichotomy. We're incredible. And we're closing schools over here. Now, let me tell you about the time I spent in education. I spent 30 years in the classroom, face-to-face with kids. That time was spent teaching and learning excellence, how to make that happen. Today, I'm a retired educator and a mortgage broker. I spend time every day talking to people about property taxes, about affordability. I know when they choose to live in Lewisville versus Addison versus Argyle. So I understand time in that regard. I've got a first and a third grader. I'm going to be around for a long time. And I want to see things happen that don't require us to spend money from a 2023 bond on schools that close in 2025. That kind of time commitment is really important. If you've been looking for somebody that spent time in the classroom, if you've been looking for somebody that spends time every day talking about fiscal responsibility and property taxes, if you've been looking for somebody who's going to be invested in the long-term future, time invested for the next decade and beyond, then you found the right candidate, and it's about time. I'm Brian Pollard, and I'm running for Lewisville ISD, Place 5. Thank you.
Thank you both, Lewisville ISD candidates. We appreciate you being here this evening and sharing with the audience. I'd like to now introduce our Flower Mound Town Council Place 5 candidates. On your left, Claire Harris. Susan Cox. And Ethan Mitchell. Each candidate will have 1 minute for an opening statement. After the opening statements, I'll ask the candidates questions. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question. We'll also allow for an optional 30-second rebuttal after all three have answered the question at hand. Finally, there will be a 1 minute closing statement after all questions are complete. We will do our 1 minute opening statements this time, and we'll go from left to right. So, Ms. Harris, you will go first, please.
Thanks to the Cross Timbers Gazette for hosting this evening. I'm Claire Harris, and I'm running for Flower Mound Town Council, Place 5. I'm a resident of the DFW area for over 30 years and a U.S. citizen for 22. I'm a wife, mother, grandmother, nurse, volunteer, and more. And when my husband and I found Flower Mound, we knew we'd found a really special community to live. I'm proud of my community involvement everywhere I've lived, but especially in Flower Mound, where I have a proven and public track record of showing up at town council meetings to stand up for residents, for their quality of life, for water conservation, high-quality development on our native tree canopy. I served on the Environmental Conservation Commission, and I currently serve on Planning and Zoning, where I've shown my commitment to supporting residents and their quality of life. Preserving the cross timbers and our native trees, and pushed for high-quality commercial developments so we can reduce the residential property tax burden. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Ms. Cox?
I'm going to go ahead and stand up if you don't mind. I don't usually give speeches while I'm sitting down. So my name is Susan Cox, and I'm running for Place 5, as you heard, and I am a native Texan. This is my home, and I've lived here my whole life. I literally have lived in Flower Mound as of June for 26 years. I've raised 4 of my 5 children here, and I have 4 grandchildren. I run multiple businesses here, and I've been involved with every single school in this town. I've had kids from elementary, middle school to high school, and even over here at the college. So I'm very well versed with what's going on in Flower Mound. My vision is to just take Flower Mound and make it even better than it already is. And I believe that with my business background that I can do that, and I could be a force for good for our town. I think that in the future, we're going to have some pretty big things and some developments coming up, and I would like to be a part of that and a part of the decision making for our town. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cox. Mr. Mitchell?
Good evening. My name's Ethan Mitchell. Most of y'all know me as Coach Bananas. I'm not a career politician. I'm a dad, an Eagle Scout, a baseball coach, a volunteer, and I'm just like most of you, a neighbor here. I live in this town, and I'm very proud to live here. For the last 16 years of my life, I've worked across a lot of large companies, multiple large organizations, where I've used my master's degree in statistics to find opportunities to avoid waste, create efficiencies, and improve the places that I've worked. I'm running here in Flower Mound because I feel like everyone here has a voice, and I want to be the voice for moms, dads, grandmas, grandpas. I want to represent you. And I'm not running because I want a title. I'm running because I love serving, and I want to continue to serve by serving on this town council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. I really appreciate the audience participation and interest and energy. I'm going to ask that we hold applause after we do opening statements till the very end, and we will be rowdy at that point for our candidates. So thank you very much. We will now begin a series of questions and answer format. Each candidate will have the opportunity to answer each question and will be limited to a 1-minute answer on their question. We'll also allow for an optional 30-second rebuttal. Questions will be asked in a rotating order, and we will start with Ms. Harris. Ms. Harris, what do you feel is the town's top transportation issue, and how would you propose to address it?
Well, I think the thing everybody complains about is the traffic. And we have a lot of traffic in Flower Mound. Unfortunately, not all of it comes from Flower Mound. It comes from our neighbors to the north, and we have to manage what comes through. We have used adaptive signaling technology to manage our signals so that the traffic does flow better. We need to work to improve that technology. We're going to use Waze technology integration as well, so that when there are problems, residents know where those problems are and what to avoid. We need to work with our partners in Grapevine so that there's not the bottleneck down at $24.99 in the morning when their light isn't in synchronization with ours. So there are lots of things that we can do, and technology is going to be a big part of that in the future.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Cox?
Okay, so actually it's exactly what Claire said. Everybody in this town is talking about our traffic. I don't have the answers for that. But what I do know how to do as a leader who teaches other leaders, I know how to go and get the right answer from the right people. So I think what I would do is I would get with the Transportation Commission and our town manager and be able to sit down and get together and see what can we actually do. Because a lot of our roads, our main roads here, are not owned by us. They're owned by the state of Texas. So we're going to have to figure out how we're going to deal with our traffic. And it's going to take a lot of people getting together with good minds to figure out how we're going to do it. It can be done. On one hand, I think maybe we need to slow the roll on the grow a little bit, because if we keep growing and putting in all these apartment buildings, each person that lives in that apartment probably drives 2 cars. That's more cars on our roadway. So I just think that better minds than me know how to fix that, but I know where to go to get the answer to make that happen.
Thank you, Ms. Cox. Mr. Mitchell?
These 2 candidates did a lovely job answering the question. I really don't have much of a different answer other than the first thing that I would do would be to get my hands on data and to actually see where the real problems are with our traffic so that we could target with your tax dollars the real issues with traffic in the main areas first and be efficient with your money. The second thing that I would say about traffic is the school drop-off lines. I haven't dropped off at school in a while, but when I did, the drop-off line is quite long, and I know that parents have places to go, things to do. The other thing that I want to mention is not just traffic, but the safety. There are people that are trying to cross the road, pedestrians, people on scooters, and I actually know a young man that got hit by a car recently. Luckily, he was okay. Car drove off. I want to find opportunities to see if we can change some of those things and try to prevent some of those accidents from happening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Cox, you'll start us on the second question, which is, have any political action committees or advocacy groups supported your campaign, and do you believe outside organizations should play a role in local elections?
Can you define to me what a political activity, can you define that part to me?
A political action campaign?
Yeah.
Political action campaign might be one that has a possibly a partisan interest or an individual action interest, maybe beer distributors, something like that, that would provide money to candidates to put forward their interests.
Well, I'm endorsed by the Denton County Republican Party. Does that count? Because that's who I'm endorsed by. I have a few endorsements, but no, I've not taken any money from anyone. I feel like I didn't want to be holded. I didn't want to be in anybody's pocket, so that when I come up here and I make a choice for our town, I'm making the right choice for our community and for our town, not because somebody paid me to do it. That's not what I've done. Is that?
Thank you, Ms. Cox. My apologies. Mr. Miller advised me I asked the wrong question as far as my definition on political action committee and not campaign. So does that change any of your answer, Ms. Cox? So my apologies.
I don't think so.
Okay. Thank you for bailing me out. Mr. Mitchell, you're second. Let me read the question again
Sure, thank
correctly
you.
this time. How would that be?
Thank you.
Have any political action committees or advocacy groups supported your campaign? And do you believe outside organizations should play a role in local elections?
Absolutely not. So there's a form that we have to fill out when we decide to run for this position. I chose not to raise or spend more than $1,000 as part of my campaign. The actual number is 1,110. And no, I don't take money from PACs. My vote can't be bought. I really do want to represent the voices of this town, and I want to look into data. Any opportunity that I have to get your insights before making a decision, that's absolutely what I would do. So no, I don't take money from PACs, and I won't.
Thank you. Ms. Harris?
No, I've not accepted any money from any PACs or other organizations, such as the Realtors Organization or anybody else. Elections should remain nonpartisan because we're focused on local issues that affect all the residents, and that's town council and school board elections.
Thank you, ma'am.
I would like to rebuttal that, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Claire brought up the Realtors PAC. Was that part of your question that you were asking me about? Because yes, I am endorsed by the Realtors here, but I have not taken any money from them.
Thank you. Any further word from anyone? No? Okay. Mr. Mitchell, for the third question, you'll kick it off. The question is, how would you define the temperament needed to serve effectively as an elected official, and would you say you possess those qualities?
It's a great question. I think over the past year and a half, I've definitely done a lot of self-growth. I think the temperament of someone that's going to serve in this role is someone that's calm, that listens, that truly listens to what's being said before they respond. I think it's someone that has a mentality. I'll just use what I tell the kids at baseball. 3 things. Do our best, have fun, be a good teammate. So are we doing our best? Are we trying to have fun? And are we being good teammates? I think the 3 of us in this campaign, we've all been pretty kind to each other, and I think we're being good teammates. So I think the temperament is exactly what I just said. Someone that's calm, that listens, that seeks the input from the residents of this town, and that's able to think before they respond. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Harris?
I think that you need a temperament of a calm, measured person that is going to look at everything from every angle. You need to be an investigator because you need to investigate all of the options that are on the table and the parts that play into that. And you need to be a great listener because you need to listen to residents, first and foremost. You need to listen to staff. So you need to be a very good listener and calm at all times.
Thank you, ma'am. And Ms. Cox?
Okay, so I'm a Texas girl. I have that temperament. That's who I am. But I'm also very smart, and I know how to talk to people, and I know how to read a room, and I know how to have the right temperament. But I will not be ran over. I'm not going to be pushed around. I'm not going to be ran over. But what I will do is stand up and fight for our town. When somebody needs somebody to go fight for them, I'm the one in your corner. I know how to be calm. I can be calm unless I'm pushed over the limit by some in this room. Maybe it happened yesterday, but that's another story. We'll talk about that later. But I have the temperament to do this. I run multiple businesses, and to be able to deal with the businesses that I run, I have to deal with people on a daily basis, and I have to deal with big corporate CEOs and CFOs on a daily basis. So I have the temperament to run for town council and to sit here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cox. Ms. Harris, you'll begin the fourth question for us, which is, Flower Mound is often viewed as a difficult municipality to develop in. What specific steps would you take to streamline the approval process, reduce unnecessary red tape, and create a more predictable path for responsible development?
So the comment that Flower Mound is difficult to work with, I think Flower Mound has very high standards, and I think some developers have figured out what those high standards are and are meeting those standards. And other developers that were not able to figure out what our high standards were have not stayed around to work in Flower Mound. The state has put in some measures that have streamlined some of the development application process, and that has sped things up for applicants. So I think there's always room to improve, but I think that it's because of our high standards, because we want Flower Mound to remain a best place to live, that the developers that aren't able to meet those high standards find us difficult.
Thank you. Ms. Cox?
Well, my first question would be, who sets the standards? Okay, because if it's the master plan has been amended multiple times since its inception. And as far as the businesses go here, I think a little less red tape for them and a little more support from our town would help them thrive. We need a thriving business community here. Without a thriving business community here, our town is not gonna flourish and it's gonna die. We need to have that tax revenue coming in every month, every year with a standard business policy. So I think that a little bit of the red tape needs to be let up a little bit, and let's support our local businesses while we're bringing in new businesses that can bring us revenue. And there will be smart businesses, business for everybody here in the community, businesses that will strive and thrive and be here for a long time.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Mitchell?
Would you mind repeating the question for me?
Absolutely. Flower Mound is often viewed as a difficult municipality to develop in. What specific steps would you take to streamline the approval process, reduce unnecessary red tape, and create a more predictable path for responsible development?
Thank you. So this is very similar to the type of work that I've done in my career the last 16 years. I worked in revenue management, process improvement. I've worked in operations management, lots of different groups. And the first thing that we do when we're trying to fix a problem is seek to understand it, seek to understand the process, define the key process, the key measures, all of the things that we would look at when trying to make a decision. So me not being a career politician and really not having a lot of experience in this, I would seek to understand, and I would lean on my other council members to understand the process. And then I would use data to try to figure out if there's a way to make things easier for our local business owners or for people that are trying to bring in revenue and spending here in this town. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any further comments or input? No? Okay, thank you. Ms. Cox, I'll have you answer this next question. And the question is, what type of development or initiatives would you support at the Riverwalk to help it live up to its potential?
Wow, that is a great question, because in my opinion, the Riverwalk is a little bit dead. It's a hot mess. And what I would do is I would try to bring in businesses that people want to go to. Say like maybe a Marty B's or something like that, where people can have fun, where they can sit outside and play with their kids, throw some cornholes while they're eating their dinner and maybe having a drink after work. I think that we need to have more businesses here that the community appreciates. We don't need to drive to South Lake every time we want a great steak other than Marty B's. I don't know of another one. We don't need to be driving to Frisco. We need people to come here and spend their taxpayer dollars here in our town to help with our revenue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mitchell?
She's right about the steaks. Marty B has some pretty good steaks, but so we definitely should try to get one of those down on the Riverwalk. And I have a lot that I want to say to your question. It's not specifically to the Riverwalk, so I'll try to save it for later. But I think bringing in good businesses and places that people want to spend money, that's a great idea. Susan's right. And the second is I think our town does a lovely job today, and I think they should be applauded for it, for throwing the events and the activities that they do throw. I don't remember the name of it, and forgive me, but all of those little rubber ducks floating on the Riverwalk, and everybody's there you go. I love that. I mean, I go to it every year, and I'm chasing ducks, and I think if we could do more events like that and get the community out there to the Riverwalk to spend some time, I do think we have some great restaurants down there today that people would see and that would spend their money. They would enjoy them. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Ms. Harris?
So I think there is help for the Riverwalk. The town has purchased property within the Riverwalk community for a cultural arts center. that will be a gathering place for the community, will drive residents and visitors to Flower Mound and to the Riverwalks. There will be support for both the existing businesses and new businesses that come to Flower Mound. The Fall into Flower Mound was the inaugural Fall into Flower Mound last year. The farmers market at the Flower Mound is bringing people in. The Deck Derby, as Mr. Mitchell mentioned, so we are doing things to help the Riverwalk, and with the Cultural Arts Center, that will be a huge development for them.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Mr. Mitchell, I'll have you start us on this next question, and the question is, Flower Mound has become increasingly unaffordable for young families and seniors. Do you feel large lot zoning and current development restrictions contribute to this? And what changes would you support to make the community accessible to people in all stages of life?
It's a great question. So I'm 36 years old. I've been working for 16 years. I have 3 children that are very young, that are growing up in this town. And I do think that when we moved here, it was definitely a big decision financially, in every way, shape, and form of could we make it happen. And we wanted to live here. We chose to live here in this town because this town is a lovely town, and I'm very proud to live here and for my kids to grow up here. So to answer your question, I think that any opportunity that we have to lower taxes, any opportunity that we have to incentivize people to move here, I would look into that. I would see if there's anything that is open to us that maybe we're not considering on the town council today, and I would offer those opportunities to people. I think we have some great youth programs in this town, FMYSA and a lot of other organizations, GLASA. People literally live in other towns and have their children playing sports here because these organizations are so great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Ms. Harris?
So land prices in Flower Mound have become extremely high, and that's driven home prices to an extremely high rate as well. Unfortunately, the town council can't affect the market price. What we can do is make home ownership more affordable through lowering the residential property tax rate, through increasing the homestead exemption, which is currently the highest allowed by the state at 20%, and potentially increasing the local option exemption for seniors and persons with disabilities. So we can change those things. And people who don't want to buy a home, there are some the Watermere development has expanded their senior cottages so that there are some better options there. And in Far West Flower Mound with Monarch on Brookview, there'll be townhomes, which will offer another different housing stock for residents that don't want large lots.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Ms. Cox, if you'll wrap us up.
Okay. I'm not exactly sure how to fix that problem, but I do know that I just got my tax papers yesterday, and we may have gotten an exemption, but then the appraisals went up. So that's not going to save me any money. So I don't know about you, but that's not saving me anything. And as far as the lots, whoever redid the zoning and the planning decided on their own, I guess, who was going to live there. So meaning all these houses out across the street from my house are humongous houses. So I'm wondering who can afford to live in those houses. My children can't afford to live here. They grew up here. They were raised here. They can't afford to live here. So we have a problem with affordability here. And I believe it's in how we're setting up our town. So we have a master plan, but the master plan has been amended so many times that nobody really knows what the master plan is anymore. I believe years ago, it was supposed to be more of a country cattle type place here. And with all the apartments and all of that, I'm not seeing it. So we need to do better.
Thank you, Ms. Cox.
Can I offer a rebuttal?
Yes, sir.
All right, 30 seconds. So what I'll say is they brought up a good point, which is, and I heard it lightly in both of what they said, I think, which was the appraisals. Appraisals are going up. The property values are going up. I did happen to spend a few years living in Tarrant County. I'm not sure how much influence or impact that I would be able to have in town council, but the process of going to the appraiser's office and actually, disagreeing with the appraised amount and trying to keep your values down, I've done that every year, and so that's something that I would look into to see if we can give them feedback and input.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Any further thoughts? No? Okay. Ms. Harris, we'll start with you on this next question. When a proposed project meets all ordinance requirements but faces strong public opposition, would you support it or oppose it, and why or why not?
If it meets all the ordinance requirements of the town of Flower Mound, we are legally obligated to approve it. I have no choice sitting on planning and zoning, whether it's planning and zoning or town council. For example, a Hindu temple came forward and there was opposition to that temple. The land was zoned appropriately and it had actually been another religious use. So by state law, by federal law and the First Amendment, we had to approve that because it met all of our ordinance requirements, and a religious institution can be in any zoning.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Cox?
Okay, so what I would do is I would get with the residents and I would see where they are. What is their hot button? What is it that they want and what they don't want? Because what we don't want is we don't want people up here dictating our lives to us. And what that means is we need to listen to our residents, and if 80% of the people want it, then we do the 80-20 rule, because you're never gonna please everybody. And just because they meet the requirements, does that really mean we have to have it? Like, I don't know the rules on that, but it's like some things, yes, you say yes, okay. So then we have to make sure that it's a strategic, that it's something strategic that we can all use and benefit from. And I just believe that that's the way it is. I mean, we're going to have to do with what the residents want. If 80% of the residents don't want it and 10 come in here that do want it, we go with the 80%.
Thank you, Ms. Cox. Mr. Mitchell?
Sure. Do you mind repeating the question?
Absolutely. When a proposed project meets all ordinance requirements but faces strong public opposition, would you support it or oppose it, and why or why not?
Thank you. Here's how I feel about it. We live in a wonderful country, United States of America, where we have First Amendment rights and we have our freedoms. And I want to live my life the way that I want to live it. And I don't want people to tell me how to live my life, but I'm also not going to tell them how to live their life either. And if they were meeting all the requirements and all of the obligations that they would have to meet in order to do the project and move forward with it, then I wouldn't stand in the way of the project. If the town had strong opposition on it, then I would be looking at the requirements that are in place and trying to understand the requirements, were they met, why were they met, and if it was more of just a personal beliefs, then unfortunately there are going to be times where there are things that happen in our town that maybe necessarily we don't believe in or believe with, but we live in America, and so we have to be fair to others.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Any further thoughts or input? No. Ms. Cox, you'll lead us off on this following question, which states, what experience do you bring to be able to support and enrich our local businesses and recruit quality businesses to the area to help with the tax burden on taxpayers in Flower Mound?
Well, I would do what I've done for the last 37 years. What I do is I train business leaders to lead and to thrive, to grow their business so that their business thrives. So what I would do, I bring a lot of people into this town every week. So last week I had 47 different people here from different states. And what I would do is I would try to recruit them and say, hey, I like that business. That would work in our town. Bring that here. I would try to bring in better businesses because I know how to do that. That's my strong point. That's what I'm good at. And I believe that with my experience of 37 years of owning a business, that I know how to do that. And I know how to be a resident for the residents and for our business community.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Mitchell?
So the first thing that I would want to do is look in areas in the town to see if we have developments that maybe aren't being used, office buildings, restaurants, buildings that are closed down and that aren't being used, just so that we can avoid new development if possible. The second thing that I would do is look at areas of the town where there's an opportunity to bring in revenue and to bring in spending. I think there's opportunities on the west and the south side. As you start going towards Grapevine, you think about all the families that spend time at the Grapevine Mills Mall or towards the airport. There's a lot of great things here in Flower Mound that families from all over the country travel in to use, such as the fields at Bakersfield Park. But then when you think about where those families are sleeping at night and where they're staying, they have to travel further away to stay at hotels. I'm not saying that I want to build a whole bunch of hotels, but I do think that there's some area down towards Grapevine where there's an opportunity to bring in more spending. And so I think that's how I would approach it.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Ms. Harris?
Yes, it would work with the economic development team to really figure out what businesses Flower Mound needs and where they need to go. Go after these businesses and chase them to bring in what's right for Flower Mound. But we also need to support our existing businesses and continue the work that is being done to support them by offering reductions on permit fees when they're redeveloping older strip malls, because they're already paying property taxes and we don't want to make them pay twice. We offer signage packages to applicants that come forward that need better signage for their businesses. And for example, Duff's Jewelry, they took over an existing bank building and redeveloped it. And we gave them exceptions to the urban design plan so they could redevelop that building and stay in Flower Mound.
Thank you, Ms. Harris.
I need a rebuttal,
Yes,
please.
ma'am.
Okay, so exactly what I've heard from the businesses here is we don't have good signage. Signage is your marketing tool. That's how people know your business is there. That's how they know to come to your business. We have businesses behind the Starbucks that doesn't have a sign and they're not allowed one. And I think that I understand the master plan. I don't want it to look ugly, but there is a way that we can build signages for our local businesses so people know that they're there and that they exist so they don't go out of business.
Thank you, Ms. Harris.
Yes. So 2 years ago, the Riverwalk came forward to Town Council and asked for a comprehensive sign package that was approved. Unfortunately, I don't think any of those signs have been put up yet. HTO, right across the street, came and asked for exceptions to our sign packages, and it was approved. And the subway north on 2499, same thing. Signs on the back of the buildings that we don't normally allow, but to promote their businesses were allowed.
Thank you. Anything further?
Yeah, I have a question. So I spoke to the businesses at the Riverwalk, and the reason they're dying is because they don't have signage. Nobody knows those restaurants are down there. Nobody knows that the nail place is over there. Yes, it's true. And I talked to them the other day, and that's exactly what they told me. They come here and they get shot down because people don't like their design. They want to make it the way they want to make it. The town is not here to dictate how we run and how we run our business. It's to make the town look good and have a good feel, not to tell Marty B to turn his entire business around and face somewhere else and put his beginning of his building to the street.
Thank you, Ms. Cox. Anything further before we move on? Okay. Mr. Mitchell, we're up to you. And the question is, what is your strategy for preserving the character of our town in the face of rapid growth in southern Denton County?
Well, I think the town's done a lovely job with our parks. I really think they should be commended for the work that they've done. So the first thing is, let's not mess with our parks. If anything, we should just continue to add value to them and grow them. Part of my strategy would be to avoid creating bottlenecks in traffic. I mean, we already have. We've talked about it here today. So let's be very mindful with what we're doing throughout our town, especially on Morris. I know there's a lot of questions about that, and it's been talked about for years. The other thing I think is promoting our businesses and our youth programs. I think that there's a lot of great things happening here already that maybe people don't know about. And so thinking outside of the box on how we can market the things that are happening in this town, the businesses that are open in this town. And there are going to be some that are hidden down in the Riverwalk, and we may have to be more creative with how we drive traffic to them. So strategy would be take input from the residents, listen, and be very mindful of what they're saying. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Ms. Harris?
Could you repeat the question?
I sure will. What is your strategy? Yeah. What is your strategy for preserving the character of our town in the face of rapid growth in southern Denton County?
The master plan is how we protect our town. It was designed by forward-thinking mayors over 40, 50 years ago. And yes, there have been amendments to the master plan because we couldn't foresee everything. We couldn't foresee that certain streets wouldn't need to be connected, like Kirkpatrick. So the master plan is our guide. We want to preserve our Cross Timbers Conservation District. That is where we maintain our country feel. And anybody that says Flower Mound has lost its country feel is not going to the right parts of Flower Mound. Is there appropriate density available in some areas? Yes. Between 377 and I-35 West in the Monarch and Brookview developments, that area was designed for more dense areas. But the conservation of our cross timbers is of utmost importance.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. And Ms. Cox?
Can you please repeat the question?
I sure will. What is your strategy for preserving the character of our town in the face of rapid growth in southern Denton County?
Okay, well, my strategy would be to bring in more quality businesses here. And then the other part of that would be when they come here, we make sure that they can afford to live here. And also, I'm not a pro-grow person per se, but I do know that it's inevitable. The land is out there, people own it, and it's going to be whatever they decide it to be. But what we can do here is dictate to them in a way that says, hey, this would look better. You should do this. If you wanted to have a country feel, we wouldn't have had all these apartments. We wouldn't have all this stuff going in out west. That's not a country feel to me. I moved here because of the trees. I moved here because it was country. I came from East Texas, the piney woods. I love country more than anybody, but I know that growth is inevitable. So when we grow, I want to make sure that we are growing strategically. And with the things that we have now, some of the stuff we need to just wait a minute. I didn't rezone all this stuff out here. So I don't really have the answers for that, but I know how to step in and do what's right for the community.
Thank you, Ms. Cox. Yes, Mr. Mitchell.
Yeah, I want to have a quick rebuttal. So they brought up some good points and made me think of this. It was something I mentioned in a previous debate in the last 2 weeks. We have to be very mindful and careful of how we rezone our land. And there's land out towards Fire Station 2 off of Shiloh Road, pastures, horses, and cattle. So I think those areas make Flower Mound special. They're very pretty. They're very nice to look at. And I would be very mindful of just rezoning and putting a Walgreens or a CVS on a random corner like that. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Harris.
Yeah, so that area, the Cross Timbers Conservation District, has special ordinances to protect it that will require 45% open space preserved in those communities so that we can preserve our country atmosphere.
Thank you. Anything further, Ms. Cox? No? Okay. Ms. Harris, you'll kick off this next question, which reads, if elected, you may have to vote on 2 large commercial projects, HEB on FM 2499 and Costco on FM 407. What are your thoughts on these potential developments?
So making any decisions on a hypothetical is impossible. And any council person or planning and zoning commissioner that comes in with a predetermined decision, that's just not appropriate. So we have to use how we analyze all developments that come forward from all applicants. We need to use our master plan and our smart growth policies. We need to look at adequate water supply that's available to those properties. We need to look at the traffic impact analysis and how that affects all the residents. We need to make sure there's adequate emergency services for any development that's come forward, how it affects our community character and our environmental quality. And we take the input from residents and staff when we look at all these developments. So we do what we do for every development.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Ms. Cox?
Can you repeat the question again real quick?
Sure. If elected, you may have to vote on 2 large commercial projects, HEB on FM 2499 and Costco on FM 407. What are your thoughts on these potential developments?
Well, I have mixed thoughts, just like everybody in this town does. I've talked to probably 100 people, and what I know for sure is that people do want the HEB. I know that for sure. Now, the Costco, it's a little up in the air, only because of where it's sitting. And people think that it will cause a cluster of traffic. And I haven't seen I haven't seen the plans on it, so it'd be hard for me to look at it and see whether it does or doesn't. So I'd have to sit down and really look at that and study it and see if it's at a viable place. And if it's not, I don't know if they own the land or how that works, but I know I would try to redirect it to a place more suitable for a Costco and suitable for our traffic.
Thank you. Mr. Mitchell?
I like shopping at HEB. They're pretty cool, right? So in all seriousness, the very first thing that I would do would be get input from the residents. And then I would think, is this going to make life better for them or is it going to make it harder? And if we're putting something in an area that it's going to make it harder for them, then maybe we need to find another area to put it in. And maybe we need to talk about other opportunities of where it could go. I like Costco quite a bit too. They've got great clothes, and especially when you're taking care of 3 kids, the clothes there are pretty inexpensive. So I do think that there's an opportunity to bring them here. I'm not strongly opposed to having either one in this town, but I would ask, is it going to make life better for our residents, or is it going to make it harder? And if it's going to make it harder, why? And what do we need to do to change it before we just start tearing up land and building?
Thank you. Any further thoughts or input? No? Okay. Ms. Cox, we have found the last question, and you get to start it. How about that? Ms. Cox, what is the biggest issue in this election that has not been addressed tonight?
The biggest issue in this election?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a loaded question.
Yes, ma'am.
The biggest issue, I would say, is that it's a nonpartisan race. That's what I would say, because it is supposed to be nonpartisan, but it's not. And I'm just going to be quite honest with you. I am a conservative Christian, and I know who I am and I know whose I am. And so my values lay with the Bible. And so with that, when I say that, people don't think that I will be able to make a decision for everyone. But like I said, I'm a business owner. When people come to me and do business with me, I sit there and I look at the contract, and I don't ask them how you voted. I don't ask them what your religion is. I say, is this a good deal? Let's debate it and let's make it happen. But it is absolutely not a nonpartisan situation. I was hit with a couple of things yesterday from some of our town leaders being a little bit rude and disrespectful to me. And as a resident of this town, I didn't appreciate it. And I hope that that wouldn't happen to the future people who would like to run and serve.
Thank you, Ms. Cox.
Thank you.
Mr. Mitchell.
Time starting now. Galatians 6:9 says, "Let us not get tired of doing good, for we will reap at the proper time if we don't give up." And so the first thing that I would say is I'm a man of faith. I'm conservative. I've never voted for a Democrat yet. But I'm also very open and very mindful that we live in the town of Flower Mound, and we have a very diverse group of people. And so the one thing that I think is the biggest challenge in our town is that we're raising our kids here. Our kids are growing up here, and I want them to learn from the adults here how to set an example of how to behave, how to act, how to treat one another. And I think if all of us just took an opportunity to get closer to our Savior and to have a relationship with Him where every day we wake up saying, what can I do for others and how can I make this world a better place? If we all truly, really did that, then all of the things that we're worried about would get solved. And that's what I'm saying. Galatians 6:9, let us not get tired of doing good, for we will reap at the proper time if we do not give up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. And Ms. Harris.
So I think the question that hasn't been asked specifically is about the potential cultural arts center and on what that brings to Flower Mound. And I'm supportive of a cultural arts center, but we have to make sure that it's the right thing for Flower Mound, the right cost for Flower Mound. And it's not just about construction costs. We have to look at all the factors. We have to look at ongoing maintenance costs. And there are opportunities for us. The money will come out of the TERS for construction. And the county is very supportive in donating their portion of the TERS to this construction. We have to look at ongoing maintenance and operation that can potentially come out of the hotel occupancy tax. So none of those would come out of the resident property tax or increase their taxes. And we have to look and make sure that that happens for this to move forward.
Thank you. Any further input from anyone? Okay, very good. We will now conclude with closing statements. Each candidate will have 1 minute for their closing statement. We will go in reverse order from the opening statements. So, Mr. Mitchell, you will lead us off.
Good evening, Flower Mound. My name's Ethan Mitchell. I also go by Coach Bananas. I'm very grateful to be here. 65 years ago, JFK said, "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." And I've lived here in Flower Mound for 6 years this May. And the entire time I've lived here, I've been asking myself, what can I do for this community? And so I've served on the board of directors with Flower Mound Youth Sports Association. I've coached our youth on the baseball fields. I've been a Cub Scout leader at one point, and I've done everything that I can to try to serve and to give back to our community. I'm a dad. I'm not a career politician. I have traveled the world. I've been to 40 countries, 45 states. I've worked at large organizations, and I've made them better along the way. So if you trust me and you give me your vote, I promise you that I'll do two things. I'll do my best. Well, three things. I'll do my best, I'll have fun, and I'll be a good teammate to you by getting your input while we're making decisions for our town. I'm Ethan Mitchell, and I'd love it if you voted for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Ms. Cox?
Okay, so what I would like to do is be a true voice for the residents. I think we have a messaging issue here, and I think that I could bring a messaging platform so that people can understand what's going on here, so you'll know what's important, so you'll know that you need to get out and go vote. I also am not in the cool kids club. Just so you know what that means. That means I'm not in the inner circle. And what that means is I'm not beholden to anyone. That means I can make my own choices and I can decide for myself what's right and what's wrong. When I come in, I'll have fresh eyes and I won't be a part of the group think, because here you have to go up through a system, and the system teaches everybody to say the exact same thing. So when you come in here, everybody hands down votes for the same thing. I'm not going to be that. I'm going to be a disruptor that's here for the people and going to do what's right for our community. Thank you.
And Ms. Harris?
In listening to the residents over the past several years, I've learned that they want Flower Mound to remain a best place to live with a great quality of life. They want low taxes and high town standards of services. They want traffic solutions, parks, and trails. They deserve a town council member who has shown they will stand up for them and their quality of life, and stand up to preserve the cross timbers on our native tree canopy and push for quality development. They deserve a council member who has cared enough to vote in local May elections over the last several years. And they deserve a town council candidate who can meet deadlines and play by the rules of the Texas Ethics Commission. I'm ready, willing, and able to serve all the residents of Flower Mound, and I want us to work together for a safe, thriving Flower Mound for all of us. So I ask for your vote for Claire Harris as the best candidate for Flower Mound Town Council, Place 5.
Am I allowed to rebut any of that was about me? Okay. Well, we got our handy dandy.
Flower Mound has 3 great candidates for Place 5. While we've kind of applauded sporadically throughout, please recognize them for their work tonight. We'd also like to thank you as an audience. Y'all been exceptional, and we appreciate that. Brings a lot of energy to the room and actually helps the 3 of them. While we're giving out thanks, please recognize Mr. David Phillips, our timekeeper. He did a great job. No one really ran long. Y'all did a great job, but it's because he was enforcing the rules, right? Yeah. A reminder that tonight's forum is being recorded by the town of Flower Mound and can be viewed on FM TV up to Election Day. You can also watch this forum on demand at flowermound.gov and crosstimbersgazette.com. Early voting begins Monday, April 20th and ends on Tuesday, April 28th. Election Day is Saturday, May the 2nd. Visit votedenton.gov or call 940-349-3200 for voting information. Please visit the Cross Timbers Gazette at crosstimbersgazette.com for the latest Southern Denton County news updates daily. Visit with the Cross Timbers Gazette, local lives here. This concludes our program. Thank you, candidates. Thank you, Town of Flower Mound, and thank you all for attending or watching this event on FM TV. Have a good night.